I would like to just talk about me and Brett and how amazing we were together as just a team. And Fox and Kid, that's who we became, Fox and Kid, and everybody knew us that way in all the facilities Brett's been in. And just as two people that will help everyone out when they need it. I I gave Brett a lot of money on a monthly basis, and I know a lot of it he passed down and shared a lot of stuff, especially tobacco and food, and I guess whatever. I don't know all the details, but he was we were well known, Fox and Kid, and dependable. I was very dependable. If I said I was going to do something, I would do it without fail. And Brett benefited from that, and he got credit a lot from people that were selling stuff and canteen and just different things people had, and everybody knew I was good for whatever I said I was going to do. So we had a really good reputation around the MDOC, and we really were a powerful, dynamic duo. I think starting in Walnut Grove and all the way up through. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how long that lasted. I don't know, but it was for a long time, and we had a very tight bond, a very close, tight knit bond that we nurtured, and we loved. We really loved it, and we really had a lot of respect for that relationship, that Fox and Kid. And I think it really worked because I was really in the background most of the time. I just was in the background. I didn't really do a lot of talking, and I just was kind of low key. And Brett was the sort of the star of the show. He was the rock god. I was kind of like his groupie, I guess you could say. And the sun just he was the sun, and I revolved around him, and I loved it every day. Every day that sun would shine on me. Maybe not really, but it felt like it was shining on me every day. We didn't have a lot of issues at first, and we really didn't have any issues. I didn't feel like at Walnut Grove, although later on I found out I guess there were big issues I didn't know about. But we really just we were like the planets. We were like the sun and the earth. Just every day we just turned, and every season we turned, and we just he was the sun, and I revolved around him, which really worked out well for us because he was the kind of person. He's a very strong personality. He's a leader. He's a leader. He attracts people to him naturally. He's a storyteller. He's a great storyteller. I mean, he kissed the Blarney Stone, and people flock around him. He's like, they want to bask in his awesomeness, and that was kind of like one of our jokes, and he knew it. Like, he literally knows he is that guy. Like, he knows he's awesome, and he says it a lot, and you know it's kind of a standing joke with us that he's got this huge ego, but you know it's endearing in a lot of ways, because he really does have a great personality, and he really will make it worth your while to be his fan. um, and that's a lot of what my original kind of like jealousy comes from, is like, I know he is that person. He's so dynamic and attractive to people, and his personality just captivates you. And like, I guess I always was like afraid that he would replace me. And it's you know it's hard to replace the sun. you know when my son was gone, you know it was dark. It's really, really dark. But that didn't happen for you know quite a while, like uh 7 years. We just sort of we just sort of like evolved, and revolved around each other in a way. And although he didn't revolve, but we kind of did on another planetary scale. We were planets too that were revolving around each other, and we really hit it off. We got a lot done. We worked together. Um, we we were like kind of like magnets, just attracted, and that really worked for us, because we had a lot of things we had to get done. We had a lot of things we had to do towards his freedom, and just towards him, like, dealing with this sentence. This is debilitating. It's debilitating. It's a hopeless place to be. But we managed to like make every day a happy day, you know. Um, and at Walnut Grove, he thrived there because he had a lot to do, and he had responsibilities. And Mr. Captain Benton gave him jobs, and he took him under his wing. And Major Swan took him under his wing. He was the in charge of security, and everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. Mr. Clemens, his teacher, and he had jobs all the time, and he had a lot of freedom. And it didn't feel a lot like prison when he was at Walnut Grove. It was just kind of a playground, you know. You're still a teenager, and okay, yeah, you've been taken out. Basically. You're taken out, and you're put in this fucking place, away from your family. You're 15 years old. Your formal education ended in 8th grade, and here you are, and it's frightening. And but as time went on, it became sort of a playground for him and Cholo, his buddy, his cuz, and Michael Bright. And so he did well, and I got to be part of that. I felt blessed that I could be part of that. And part of it was, it just blew my mind that kids were in a place like this, in this violent, it was violent, it was a cesspool of violence. The feds shut it down. Eventually, a federal judge said it was not fit for anyone to live in this place. Yet they had hundreds and hundreds of juveniles living there, And you know, there were some riots and some gang banging, and Brett got seriously hurt and injured when that happened. But for the most part, he thrived there. And when things were when you know he got to be a little older and took control of some of his surroundings and was able to take control of things, and I was there to help him. I gave him, you know, a lot of money to upgrade his life a little bit, his standard of living. And, you know, I think that helped a lot. And it kept him out of trouble because people didn't really fuck with him because he had a money source, you know. And you don't fuck with people like that. You take advantage. You get what they want to give you, kind of share, you know. And so it worked out. And we were Fox and Kid. And we were kind of like the king and queen of, you know, I used to call him the Prince of Walnut Grove because he was the Prince of Walnut Grove. And we talked, you know, not that often because, you know, it was real expensive. Um, yeah, it really was. Like, I don't remember, but it was prohibitive in some ways. So, like, we didn't, I don't think we talked all that often. But we wrote a lot. I wrote him a lot of letters. I think I wrote him a letter every 2 weeks. And, you know, he got mail all the time from me. And cards and personalized cards. I used to love to pick out for him. Foxes mainly. And just, you know. And so, of course, it wasn't, I'm not going to say, you know, it's still prison. And it's still horrible for any kid to be there. But I think we made it the best it possibly could be. And we kind of, you know, we're kind of riding high there, like just, you know, as much as possible. And there wasn't, you know, I never felt like we had any issues with, you know, that his mom eventually made an issue out of. I don't think we ever did. Like, you know, I think that sometimes there was some, like, you know, a back and forth between us in a very, very subtle way. Like, Brett and I were kind of shy of each other during Walnut Grove. Like, we danced around many feelings. We never talked about feelings. We just maneuvered around them. And, like, you know, if you would sort of look the other way, like, you know, and try not to acknowledge that because we were both kind of shy that way, and didn't really want to, you know, it was kind of unspoken that we had this affection for each other, but it was never spoken about. You know, it was just felt kind of. And we just knew that each other had each other's back. We just knew, you know, we were there for each other. He knew I was there for him. And he could bitch and complain all fucking day long at me, and I would listen to him. I would listen and listen and listen. And I took him under my wing, and we did a great, you know, we flew. And Mr. Clemens called me and complimented me for taking care of Brett the way I did. He said that's why he got out of bed in the morning, because he had hope. And I was giving him hope, just being there for him. And it kept him going. And I was just astounded that this man called me and thanked me for that, because he just loved Brett. And you know, all of the officers, you know, Major Swan and just anybody I ever ran into, were very nice to me, because they liked Brett. So, even when I would go down to visit, I would get special treatment because they liked him so much. And so, you know, Fox, oh, come to the front of the line. So like, it was just a very weird experience because I honestly knew nothing about prison. Like literally, I I had no exposure to anything like that growing up or in any way. I didn't know anyone that was. I think there was one guy in our high school class that ended up going to prison, and unfortunately, he hung himself there. It was very sad. And he's the only guy I ever knew that went to prison, and it was sad because he was a juvenile. It should have never gone there. But so, anyway, we, um, I didn't have any clue about prison, so it was all kind of an eye-opening experience for me, a learning experience, especially to see this is what America thinks is a good idea for kids who screw up and are tried as adults. Like, they have the worst representation. They have public defenders that don't do any investigation. They're interrogated in a police station without a lawyer. I mean, these kids are completely steamrolled over and railroaded, many of them, right into prison. And it was just an eye-opening experience. And Walnut Grove was a private prison. It was not. It was run by a private prison company that was all about making money. And it was just disgusting, really. It was like disaster capitalism, like, making money off of kids' disasters that happen in their lives because their parents are either drug addicts, alcoholics, not around, can't take care of them, abandon these kids, all of the things in society that would lead to a kid going to prison. And then you capitalize off that, and I just learned so much. It started to be my life, my life cause, almost, just to, like, to be submerged in this that I knew nothing about. Like, I had no idea. I'm like a sheltered white person, privilege, WASP, everything. And here I was, like, where kids have life sentences, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And I didn't know anyone that wanted to hear about it. Like, it was like, if you talked about that, people looked at you like you just puked on their shoes or something, like, what are you talking about? Like, kids in prison, oh God, criminals or something, bad people, bad kids. And so, but no one really was mean about it like that. It's just, it wasn't a topic of conversation, let's put it that way. It's not dinner table talk, or anything like that. So I was kind of by myself, in it, and astounded and just stunned at when I would go down there, and 80% or more of Walnut Grove were black kids. And that really woke me up. Like, what is the percentage of black kids in our population? 5%, maybe, something like that. Yet 80% of this huge juvenile prison, maximum security prison, was black kids. And so, like, it was just very troubling. And I have to say, though, the black families that would come every week and visit were some of the nicest, absolutely kindest, helpful people I've ever run into. And they were just, I can't even put it into words how these families came there in their Sunday best, never looked raggedy or poor or anything. They made sure that when they came to visit their loved one, they looked good. And, you know, it was a special day. And I even ran into one woman. I think she might have been with her daughter. I can't remember now, but they came from church and they were, you know, in their Sunday go to church clothes and hats and everything. And the woman, they were black, and the woman said to me, she said, well, this week I go visit my son here, and next week I go visit my husband at Parchment. I'm thinking, well, what? Really? Like, it's just, you know, it was a way of life for her. She, you know, it was like her way of life, that she would always spend her weekends visiting her loved ones in a prison, you know. And then when you see the makeup of the prisons, like 80% black people, you know that there's some, and they're only 12% of the population, you know there is something completely broken about our criminal justice system and biased, you know. And statistically, it doesn't even make sense, you know. So, like, you know, it was really troubling.